Okay, this is another video for OCR GCSE Business Revision Year 1 or Year 10. We're looking at the last part of the first section of the course, 1.4 and 1.5, Aims and Objectives and Stakeholders. So again, be led by what is on here, what is in the syllabus, what's in any revision book that you've got for OCR. There are a number of different aims and objectives that a business can have, but your syllabus has detailed 4: survival, profit, growth, and providing a service. So make sure that you only focus on those 4. There are others, and you can bring them in if you have to, but if you're going to be asked a specific question, they're going to be based around these 4. So survival is all about surviving, making sure that you make enough money to pay all your bills and can continue in business. Most businesses will aim to survive in the first year or in a period of flux or recession when they're struggling like we are at the moment. You've then got a profit objective. Obviously, most businesses want to make a profit, but once you've survived, then you can focus on making profits and trying to earn as much as you can. Don't confuse growth and profit here, because yes, profits can grow, but growth in this context simply means physical size, getting bigger. Okay, that could be buying a new premises or it could be opening new branches. And then obviously some businesses, they want to provide a good service. Not that they don't want to make profit or grow, but it may be that their primary aim is to provide a good service for their customers. So once you've got your aims and your objectives under your belt, you then need to think about how and why those objectives might change. So again, 4 key things here. So think about the stage of development. Are they a new business? Are they an established business? Are they in a dynamic market? So therefore, if they're a new business, they're probably trying to survive. If they're an established business, they might be trying to make a profit or trying to grow. So think about where they are. Think about the owner's motivations. Again, this is where profit might be a primary objective, but also they might want to provide a service. So think about what they want to do. And then think of the market conditions. This generally means how many competitors there are, how responsive your customers are, and how they influence what you can and can't do in terms of your objectives. And then your economic conditions are obviously outside of your control. As I said, at the moment, businesses are struggling, so therefore there might be a lot of survival going on. But in a boom period when the economy is growing itself, then other businesses might look to grow and might look to make a profit. So in an exam, think about those sorts of things and how they might influence how they change. They're not just going to ask you to identify an objective. A longer mark question will be to talk about how that objective may have evolved. Okay, so that swiftly brings us on to stakeholders. Again, be led by these here. There are more stakeholders available if you're looking in websites and in other textbooks, but the key ones we want to focus on are the 2 internal and the 4 external listed here. So internal stakeholders, as they imply, are already inside the business. So we're talking about the owners of the business and we're talking about the employees. Think about what they want. Owners want profits, employees want paying and job security. Your external stakeholders, your customers, your suppliers, the government and the local community. Focus on them. Same thing. What do they want? Customers want goods and services. They want reliability. They want high quality. Suppliers want paying. They want to know that they've got a customer they can work with. The government will want tax revenue from the businesses. They may even offer them money in the form of grants to help those businesses. But think about what the government wants. The government also wants them to create jobs and have people employed. And then the local community, yes, they might be customers, they might also be employees, but the local community are also affected by things like congestion and pollution coming from businesses, rubbish and litter from your local KFC, and so on. So all of those things affect the local community, and they can affect the business and what they're aiming to do in the future. So it is really important to understand that the business has an impact on those stakeholders, and that also the stakeholders have an impact on that business. The syllabus is very clear that you need to have these 2 different perspectives. So this slide looks at how the business impacts on those stakeholders we've just been talking about. So the owners, they will be able to earn profits, but they can also lose their investment if that business is not very successful. For employees, they are employed by that business being there, but equally the business could make them redundant, and that can affect obviously what they're able to earn and spend money on and so on. Externally, the customers will get products that satisfy their wants from a business, but also they're affected by poor customer service if that business isn't very good. Okay. Suppliers as well, they want someone to buy their products, but also they could lose money if that business fails. As I've already said, the government will receive tax from them, and the local community, they get jobs, they get goods, but as I said, they get pollution and congestion as well. You'll notice that for all of these, well, apart from the government, you've got one good thing and one bad thing. There are other things, but in an exam question, you're probably being asked to weigh something up. So, you want to make sure that you've got one good and one bad thing that you can talk about with each one. So this focuses on how the business affects the stakeholders. Whereas if we move on to the next slide, we consider how the stakeholders can affect the business. So the business is affected by the owners because it determines how much money they've invested in that business as how quickly that business can grow. In terms of the employees, well, if the employees don't work very hard, the quality of the goods may go down, the productivity may go down, and they're going to demand wages from the business. All of those things will cost the business money. Okay, so remember, this is how the stakeholder affects the business. Externally, customers will buy those goods, creating demand for that business. But also, don't forget that they can switch to a competitor. If they don't agree with what you're doing, if they don't like what you're doing, they'll go somewhere else. They'll also be quick to tell everyone anything that is bad publicity. So if you are not providing a good customer service, not providing goods, they'll be online and they'll be telling everyone. So that can affect your reputation and any new customers you want to pick up. Your suppliers, well, yes, they provide the supplies. That could affect the quality of goods. If your supplier's quality is not good, then yours isn't that good, and that affects your reputation. Also, if your suppliers have any time delays, that holds up all of your production, and again, that might upset your customers. I mentioned before that the government will potentially offer you grants, which could help cover some of the costs of the business. Um, they'll also tax you. They'll also raise the minimum wage, which pushes up your costs as a business. And they could refuse planning permission if you're looking to grow. So again, that stops you in your tracks, certainly if one of your objectives was to grow. And then the local community, well, they will be your customers and they could support that business, but they as well could oppose any plans, especially if those plans are going to bring some sort of negative impact on them. Increased traffic, increased congestion, increased pollution. They're more likely to go against a business. So with stakeholders, yes, know who they are. Yes, know that we're only talking about those six, but also think of those two perspectives. What does the business do that affects the stakeholders? What can the stakeholders do that affects the business? And that nuance really needs to be picked out in a question. Because if you misunderstand the question and you write the wrong thing, the whole answer is going to be wrong. So if the question asks how does the business affect the stakeholders, and you answer how the stakeholders affect the business, everything is going to be wrong. So just be careful with those types of questions. So with this section, exam tips here, obviously read the case study, know what you're talking about, know the stakeholder group, know the aim or objective that they're trying to achieve. Think about how and why those objectives change over time, and it might be that you need to justify or recommend what happens next. Check the command word you're dealing with. So is it state, is it explain, or is it analyze the stakeholders? State is straightforward. Owners. End of. Answer. Explain, you've got to put that in a bit more context. But analyze, then you're talking about what we've just been saying on those previous slides about what that stakeholder brings to the business or how the business affects them. And I've tried to help you a little bit with those slides, but try to learn one benefit and one problem for each stakeholder. Okay, it will just help with your revision. Yes, there are lots, but focus on the key ones so that you can then write a more concise answer if it's asked for.